Hey everyone. I want to talk about something today that I see in my life now and then, especially in times when, maybe I'm having a hard time or a little bit stressed out. And I've sort of noticed this cycle of behavior, this pattern. I've spent a lot of time reflecting on it. I mean, I've lost a lot of weight. My weight's, come down 110 pounds, then I regain 10 pounds, lose 5 pounds, and a lot of it is sort of behavior and mood dependent. So I thought I'd just do a video about this cycle because I'm getting now that I'm getting more and more views, I'm getting so much feedback from people, and people have been telling me their stories, and it's wonderful because the big thing for me when I first got diagnosed with AFib was I felt like I was all alone in this fight. Nobody I talked to in my life really seemed to get it. You really have to be talking to someone else with AFib, I think, for them to truly understand the kind of mental, emotional impact it can bring on you. It's very comforting to know that there are other people out there experiencing the same challenges. So I've sort of been just reading everyone's stories, and I've just come up with this what I call an mental emotional cycle, like a template that I think feeds in and out of having atrial fibrillation and whether it's progressing and how successful you are with maintaining your lifestyle interventions. So this is not meant to be judgmental in any way, but let's all just step back and just take a look at what I'm presenting here and just do some honest self-reflection, because I am not saying these are character flaws. I'm just saying this is part of the experience of being a human being with AFib and trying to manage it. So I prepared, I was going to do a slideshow, but I really feel like this one slide covers it all, because there's this sort of pernicious cycle, detrimental cycle that you see not just for people dealing with AFib, but you perhaps see it with people dealing with diabetes, or maybe they drink too much, different things. But let me walk you through it from my perspective. For me, everything starts with sleep and regulating my sleep. So if I get a good night's sleep, I see that as setting myself up for success the next day. If I don't get a good night's sleep, everything else I need to do that day to stay healthy becomes much more difficult. So I am obsessed with going to bed at a reasonable time so that I can be, let's say, up and alert and had a coffee and well rested a good hour before I have to do anything mentally taxing work, for example. Now I'll get up and go for a run or something leisurely, but there's nothing worse than rolling out of bed and just coming into work. And for me, I work from home, so the temptation can be just to sleep. If my sleep is off, just to sleep till the last minute, get up, brush my teeth, grab a coffee, log into work and start answering emails. But really, for my mental health, that's probably the worst thing. So setting myself up to sleep. And for some of you, this means using your CPAP machine, getting used to it. Sometimes your CPAP machine, I used to use CPAP when I was heavier. Sometimes that keeps you up, and it's weird stuff happens. The mask slips and makes noises and it wakes you up. Or your face gets too damp because the humidity is too high, and that's uncomfortable, and you wake up on a wet pillow. Like, just CPAP has its own set of challenges, but in the end you're far better off using it and getting a good quality of sleep, even if it's 6 hours of good quality CPAP sleep versus 9-10 hours of tossing and turning, waking up every 90 minutes to go to the bathroom kind of sleep. So sleep sets the stage. In my mind, sleep sets the stage for success. Everything builds upon this, on the quality of your sleep. The sleep then will start to help you with your energy and mood. If you're well rested, it's a lot easier to summon up energy. It's a lot easier to stay in a good mood. I don't think there's anything controversial about that whatsoever. When you're in a good mood and you're energized, well, it's a lot easier to stay on your fitness plan. It's a lot easier to to go to the gym when you should. It's a lot easier to make the healthy choices when you're sitting at a restaurant. It's a lot easier to eat properly. It's a lot easier to do things if you're counting calories, like I was counting calories every day. When you're tired and low energy, then it's really a pain in the butt counting all your calories. But when you slept well, you've had a good workout, you're feeling energized, you're feeling life flow through you, it's no problem. So it's really, the sleep sets your energy and mood. Energy and mood sets the stage for your healthy behavior. Okay? And then with all that going on, you have all the unanticipated stresses of the day and the anticipated stresses. For me, if I know work's going to be really difficult that day, if I know I'm going to be dealing with some difficult people, that for me creates anxiety. And if I haven't slept, I mean, that anxiety sometimes gets the better of me and I become short-tempered, no fun to be around. But anxiety is just a form of stress. Like the best definition I've ever heard of stress, for this chronic background stress that really affects your mental health, is being held responsible for outcomes you have no control over. So if you, let's say you have a job where it's your job to deal with customer complaints. Well, you don't build the products, you don't set the company policy, you don't determine the refund policy, but you get the complaints all day long. By that definition, that'd be a pretty stressful job, because you're bearing the responsibility, but you have no say in the outcome. You have very little influence in the outcome. So that kind of stress is uniquely unhealthy. So if you're in that kind of stress and you can avoid it, you should. If you can't avoid it, you need to learn to deal with it. And once you've learned to deal with it, if you don't have the energy and the mood and the sleep quality, and you're eating crap for lunch and that's making you feel even more weighed down, then you're not going to deal with the stress. The stress that would be a 3 for you one day is going to be a 7 for you the next day, which will then take you into possibly your unhealthy coping mechanism. So for me, my unhealthy coping mechanism is to eat something crappy. I'll tell you right now, my weakness is peanut butter is a big one, and stuff like cookies, like just a refined processed crap. Those are my weaknesses. So when I'm stressed out, I just crave high carb, high fat junk food. And I admit, even with all my progress in weight loss, I have days where I go off the rails, and I've made an agreement with myself that I'm not going to feel guilty about that. I'm just going to start again the next day and start over. But again, we have this cycle going on, right? So if I've slept good, I've probably done my workout, and I've probably eaten great all day, and probably stuff at work or in my life outside of work that would stress me out really doesn't stress me out that much. So as a result, I have no need for unhealthy coping mechanisms, and if I'm stressed out, I'm much more likely to go for a walk around the block than I am for a walk to the fridge. Now, because I go to bed unburdened by stress, unburdened by anxiety, unburdened by guilt because I skipped my workout that day, unburdened by guilt because I ate crappy. If I've had a good day all around, well, that sets me up where I can rest my head on the pillow and fall asleep easily again. Life is good. It's a cycle. So you get a cycle both ways, right? You have good behavior cycling through and building upon more good behavior. And it can turn on a dime to where a poor behavior, such as a poor sleep quality, can lead you to feel poor in energy and poor in mood. And I've heard this called an energy crisis in the past, and I really like that term. And Travis, I hope you do a video on that if you're watching. I'm still waiting. And that makes it, makes you less willing to go and do your exercise, and exercise is a great way to get rid of stress. Now you're not getting rid of it. It's building up. Your anxiety is building up. Sooner or later, you reach for an unhealthy coping mechanism, whatever that is for you, and it's just another cycle. And really, this cycle, I mean, I put this in a circle because I'm not really sure that everyone is the same. Maybe for you, it starts with just a lot of stress, and that's where your cycle begins. But what I'm going to suggest is just sit back and look at this wheel and ask yourself honestly, is this me? Is this how I operate? And if it is, I'm going to suggest a couple of strategies that I think you should look at. And the first one is you can find all sorts of free resources, low-cost books on Amazon, paid counselors, but there's all kinds of ways to access cognitive behavior therapy. So cognitive behavior therapy, it sounds a lot more intense than it is, but really it's just a way to train your mind to reframe your stresses and anxiety in real time so they don't impact you emotionally. Like if you practice some cognitive behavior therapy, stuff that's affecting you at a 10, you can sort of catch yourself in real time, and now it's affecting you at a 5 or 6. It's not a magic bullet. I mean, your stress doesn't vanish, but you certainly become a lot more capable of dealing with that stress. And even if you're in the middle of a mood and energy shortage, poor night's sleep, if you can take that stress and anxiety from a 13 to a 9, that's still a better day than you'd otherwise have. So this is one thing you can do. Another thing you can do is you can build what I call little self-feedback mechanisms. So I make these little agreements with myself, and I'll say, okay, I know I'm having a bad day, and if I'm really craving junk food, I'll go for a 15-minute walk instead. And if at that end of that 15-minute walk, I'm still really craving junk food, well, I can have the cookie. So I'm not saying, Bear, you can't have that cookie. I'm saying you can have that cookie if you still want it after you do a 15-minute walk. And by the time I'm done that 15-minute walk, I'm feeling better, and the chances of me reaching for that cookie are cut in half. And even if I do reach for the cookie, well, at least I've implemented a healthy coping mechanism. I've exercised a bit, I've freed my mind a bit. So I have little agreements like that. I'll give you another example. When I'm doing a workout and I'm supposed to do an hour, and everyone experiences this, I'm sure, but you get to the half-hour mark, you're like, oh my God, I don't think I can go any further. Like, I'm just really tired today, but I'm scheduled to run for an hour. So I'll make this agreement with myself. I'll say, run 2 more minutes. And at the end of that 2 minutes, if you feel like you need to stop and you can't go on, you can stop. So I'll get to 32 minutes. Oh, I feel like I can do 2 more minutes. I'll do that 15 times. I don't think I've ever stopped. But if I had said to myself just 30 more minutes, I probably would have just said, I'm done. So think about these agreements you can make with yourself. Have them set up and file away in your mind ahead of time. Look at this cycle and think ahead of time of what agreements can I make with myself to have at the ready for when I'm having a bad day, for when I haven't slept well, for when work has just pounded me and I'm worn out. Maybe there's a family dynamic that's causing a lot of stress. Like, think about it and make these little agreements with yourself. My favorite one is the walk. Okay, so think about it. Have these healthy behaviors, healthy interventions, just parked in at the ready for yourself, and maybe you'll find you're reaching for your unhealthy coping mechanisms less, and your quality of life overall will shift upwards. So that's all I want to say today. I appreciate everyone leaving all their comments. I appreciate all the shares I'm getting. I hit 10,000 views this month. This is my first month hitting 10,000 views. I'm like over the moon. I'm feeling the love in all the comments. Everyone's just so positive. I've enjoyed replying to everyone. I've tried to reply to every single comment. So if I missed you, I apologize. And I very much appreciate you watching and sharing. So anyway, have a great day. All the best to you.